So, good morning everybody. Thank you for getting up early to join this session number 31, Emerging XR Trends. My name is Schmalstieg from University of Stuttgart, and I'll be chairing this session. We have 4 papers. The first 2 are going to be video presentations, and the first paper in the session is called Exploring the Impact of Passthrough on VR Exergaming in Public Environments, a field study by Jiwan Guo, Hanxiao Deng, Wang, Angel Tan, Wenge and Hai-Ning Liang. I apologize for my pronunciation. And I hope the video is ready to roll.
Hello, I'm Zixuan Guo, a PhD candidate at Hanxiao Liverpool University. Today I will be presenting our paper.
We're not seeing the video.
Impact of Passthrough on VR Exergaming in public environments, a field study. Many people stay for extended periods due to work or study, leading to low physical activity. Brief activity breaks can improve health, but 27.5% of adults fail to meet World Health Organization's physical activity guidelines due to lack of motivation, fatigue, and time constraints. VR Exergames provide an engaging way to blend physical activity with virtual environments, benefiting sedentary workers and students by improving both activity levels and mood. Some studies suggest setting up a closed room for VR Exergames in work and learning environments like a VR game studio, allowing people to exercise via VR undisturbed and in greater comfort. But setting up such rooms can be costly and impractical due to space limitations. In contrast, playing VR Exergames in public shared environments is cost-effective and accessible, but it presents challenges such as social barriers and safety concerns due to the presence of bystanders. More VR devices now offer Passthrough, a feature that lets users see their surroundings through built-in cameras. Studies show it enhances safety in shared spaces by reducing collision risks and also allows interaction with bystanders. However, research has mostly focused on controlled lab settings, with trained bystanders performing specific tasks. Actually, real public environments are more complex and uncontrolled, leaving a significant gap in understanding its effectiveness in these settings. Given this gap, field studies in real-world public environments are essential to explore how Passthrough affects VR Exergaming. To the best of our knowledge, this is the first study to investigate Passthrough in such settings. We examined 3 conditions. Closed rooms serve as a baseline, public environment (PE) and public environment with Passthrough (PEP). The public environment used in our experiment was an underground passageway on a campus with stable, moderate foot traffic, representing public settings like malls and parks. Our VR Exergame is inspired by Fruit Ninja. Players are required to use 2 controllers to slice as many fruits as possible and dodge bombs. We added flying obstacles that approach players, requiring them to squat down to avoid collisions. Here is a video showing our 3 experimental conditions. We recruited 18 participants. For operators, we used a Pico 4 as a VR device, and Apollo OH1 for monitoring participants' heart rates and calories burned. We measure their game performance, exertion, and related experience. Since previous research suggests that personality can influence behavior in situations involving the presence of others, we also measure participants' self-consciousness. Higher self-consciousness often leads to greater concern about others' judgments, increasing anxiety when observed. At the end, we also had interviews. For the performance, in general, participants showed better game performance in both the baseline and PEP conditions compared to the PE condition. For the game experience, participants reported a heightened sense of competence in the baseline condition compared to the PE condition. Participants experienced a higher level of presence in the baseline condition compared to the PE and the PEP conditions. For the social experience, participants reported greater co-presence in the PEP compared to both the baseline and PE conditions, with higher co-presence in the PE than in the baseline. Participants reported a higher level of social acceptability in the baseline compared to the PE. Additionally, we examined the correlations between participants' self-consciousness and other measures. We found that as participants' self-consciousness increased, their average heart rate rose in public settings without pass-through. Meanwhile, their perceived competence, presence, and intuitive control decreased, as did their perception of social acceptability. Our findings indicate that while participants performed worse in a public environment compared to a closed room, the use of pass-through eliminated the social inhibition. Contrary to past research suggesting pass-through might disturb their presence, our results show no significant impact in public settings. Furthermore, pass-through improved social acceptance and had a favorable impact on participants with higher self-consciousness. Here we also have some practical implications. First, setting up a closed room is the best for VR Exergames, but if not feasible, using the pass-through feature in public environments provides a convenient and safe way for sedentary users to play. Continuous environment awareness is necessary in public spaces to elevate tension, enhance safety, avoid surprises, and improve game enjoyment. Overall, this study is the first to explore pass-through's impact on VR Exergames in public environments, showing its potential to promote healthy behaviors. Without pass-through, user performance decreases in public spaces, while its use improves social acceptance without harming presence. Pass-through especially benefits self-conscious users by enhancing awareness and social comfort, highlighting its role in facilitating VR adoption in real-world settings. For further details, please refer to our paper and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Hello, my name is Zixuan Guo, a PhD candidate
Can
from
you please stop the video?
University.
Well, thank you for the nice presentation. Do we have the authors online now? Let's hear from you. Can you say hello? Hello, great. So thank you so much for the presentation. We have time for a few questions. Any questions from the audience? So it's early in the morning. I will get you started. You said the feeling of presence wasn't diminished, and the game, if I understood correctly, is like Fruit Ninja, and there was some castle background, and then instead you had the mall, right? But what happens if the sort of castle is a part of the game? You can't take it away to show the mall instead. Did you consider how far this sort of feeling of presence can be retained?
Yes, the passive VR is some kind of technology that may not be useful to all of the VR applications because some VR games rely highly on the virtual environment, and that could be a good direction for the future research. Thank you for that question.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how much is it that the experiment was done in public as opposed to being like in a gym where you expect people to exercise? I don't think you expect people to exercise when you're like walking around at about in a mall, for example. But what about a public space such as a gym where you are more expected to see that?
Yes, because in this study, what we want to explore is that when people they cannot be visible to exercise in a closed room, so that they might just work out in some public environments. But yes, also they in the future they might be work out in the gym, that kind of public environment, and that would be very interesting because all of the people around that just work out, so that could have different kind of experience.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Well, if not, then thanks our speaker again. Also helps us to stay in the time frame, and we can move on to the second presentation, which is also a video. So can we have the second presentation, please? Yes, I'm waiting for the video to start playing.
Hello, my name is Zixuan, a PhD candidate from Xi'an Liverpool University. I will present you the paper Enhancement of Collocated Shared VR Experiences, representing non-HMD observers on both HMD and 2D screens. VR not only allows HMD users to immerse themselves in virtual worlds, but also to share them with others. In common scenarios within shared spaces, HMD users often engage in VR activities while non-HMD observers watch this on 2D screens, leading to various social interactions. However, in this shared context, both HMD users and non-HMD observers face distinct challenges. HMD users struggle to see and interact with observers, causing privacy and social comfort concerns. Non-HMD observers, viewing only through 2D screens, often feel less connected to the virtual world, reducing their enjoyment. To address isolation concerns from HMDs, research has explored representing non-HMD observers in VR, with visual methods like pass-through techniques and avatars proving most effective. However, prior studies have mostly focused on brief cues when others approach HMD users, with limited exploration of prolonged interactions. In contrast, there is a lack of systematic solutions to improve non-HMD observers' experience. While some studies use a third-person perspective to display HMD users' actions on the screen, this enhances observers' understanding of the activity, but doesn't address observers' disconnect from the virtual world, as they still feel isolated from it. In response to these gaps, our study aims to explore how non-HMD observers can be visually represented on both HMD and 2D screens to enhance their shared experiences during prolonged interactions. Based on previous literature, we tested 5 conditions: no representation as a baseline, virtual avatar, pass-through observer, pass-through small window, and pass-through AR. We set up a living room-like environment where the observer sat facing a TV and the HMD user stood to the side. Their positions and orientations were fixed. We used a Pico 4 as a VR HMD for the user and a 5-inch TV as a display for observers. And we also use a webcam on the headset to capture real-world scenes. We use the game as a primary task, as it's a common VR application that encourages shared experiences. We developed a game similar to VR for Ninja. Players need to use 2 controllers to slice fruits and dodge bombs. Sharing the VR experience requires HMD users to complete tasks while interacting with observers. So we use a modified embed task to assess their attention and memory. During the process, observers relay cues via pre-recorded audio, and HMD users record numbers 1 or 2 positions back. We prepared a video to demonstrate these 2 tasks and what the 5 conditions look like.
One back. Steps. 4,
6,
9,
4,
1,
9,
7,
1,
2 back. 7, 2, 9,
7,
1,
2,
8.
9.
We recruited 20 pairs of participants who were familiar with each other, totaling 40 individuals. For HMD users, we measure their task performance and cyber sickness. For both HMD users and non-HMD observers, we assessed their perceived system usability across the 5 conditions as well as presence, experience, and emotions. Finally, we conducted interviews. In the in-back tasks, we found significant differences in accuracy for the 2 back tasks. HMD users showed higher accuracy in the pass-through observer condition compared to baseline and virtual avatar conditions. No significant differences were found for their game performance. Let's have a look at the participants' evaluations of the system usability for the 5 conditions. For HMD users, significant differences mainly occurred in these 3 aspects. Overall, pass-through-based methods provided more useful information and facilitated communication compared to the baseline and avatar conditions. But they also led users to be too aware of the real world. For non-HMD observers, significant differences primarily emerged in these 3 areas. We found that as observers' visual representations display more of the real world, they perceived more distractions but also more useful information. Additionally, pass-through-based methods appear to better facilitate communication. As for their presence experience, for HMD users, the pass-through method reduces their immersion in the virtual world, but increases their sense of co-presence with observers. For non-HMD observers, being represented in the virtual world enhances their sense of presence compared to the baseline condition. The last is their emotional assessment results. For HMD users, compared to the baseline, both pass-through observer and pass-through AR elicited more positive emotions. For non-HMD observers, being represented in the virtual world all resulted in more positive emotions compared to the baseline. Our findings indicate that HMD users favor pass-through methods, especially pass-through observer, due to its seamless integration and minimal real-world interference. For observers, we found that representing them on 2D screens enhances their engagement and communication with HMD users. However, preferences varied, with observers favoring pass-through observer and virtual avatar for their respective advantages in realistic and virtual representation. We found that representing observers on both HMD and 2D screens helps users and observers overcome their challenges. Given their different preferences, our first recommendation is to provide distinct representations on HMD and 2D screens. HMD users benefit from either showing the observer or the full real environment, with pass-through observer preserving more of the virtual world, while the window format is discouraged. For non-HMD observers, offer both realistic and avatar options. Pass-through observer enhances experience for those preferring realism, while customizable avatars with motion tracking are ideal for reducing awkwardness and blending with the virtual environment. Overall, our study makes the following contributions. A first exploration of the influence of favorably representing observers in shared VR scenarios. A systematic evaluation from the perspectives of both HMD users and non-HMD observers. A set of design recommendations for representing observers on VR HMDs and 2D screens. Thank you for your time. Please feel free to see our paper for more details and contact me if you have any questions.
Thank you. Can we get the Zoom screen up, please? Excellent. So we have time for questions. More questions, please.
Thanks. Hi, thanks a lot for the nice presentation and nice work. So I was wondering, the way you use the NBAC task, it seems there was a lot of cognitive load on the user side, and also since there were different conditions in which you were observing the user, so could you look into the cognitive load under different conditions, and if not, then what do you think the cognitive load would have been under different circumstances given the different observations? Could you get the question? Am I audible? So, am I audible? Perhaps.
Could you explain the question again?
Okay, so, but I'm audible, right? Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So let me just let me repeat it again. So it seems the way you use the NBAC task, it was sort of looking at the alternating attention of the user. So could you also look into the cognitive load of the user under different conditions? And if not, then what do you think about the observation of the cognitive load? Did I go?
It's because we use this task because in this scenario, only the VR user they need to play the game, and meanwhile they need to interact with other people, so that we use this to measure their cognitive load. But for the observer, they just need to watch everything on the so that they just serve other role to give the cues.
No, so I think the question was that could you look into that how the cognitive load was varying for the user under different conditions?
We use a similar task in all of the 5 conditions.
Yeah, I can hear. Okay, thanks. Maybe I will shoot you an email. Thanks.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Thank you. Hi. So thanks for the presentation. So my question relates to the virtual avatar condition, where you like had a complete virtual representation of the observer. Was this was the observer tracked in this case? So was the avatar following the movements of the observer in the real world, or was this like pre-scripted with a few animations that were already available in the system? And would you expect this to have an influence on your results?
Well, in our study, we don't apply the motion tracking system because in this scenario, the observer, they always keep just seat there. As you can see in the video that we keep the observer don't have big movements during the experiments. But we found that the participants, they would like to have the motion tracking system in the interview, so that we have added this as one of the design recommendations in our study.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, but in the future, it should be added to enhance the participants' experience.
Great, thank you.
Good. Do we have time for a final question?
Thank you for the presentation. Looking at your video, it looked like very silent. Was there any much interaction between the observer and the HMD user during the study sessions?
Well, because in the experiment, they need to do the secondary task, the impact task, so they are not allowed to have the communication. And it is like a natural interaction, but we use this to control the experiment, because if someone does the talking and they talk some very interest topics, and they will make them to very excited, and we think it might influence the results, so that we set a task to control them.
Okay, so thank you very much. Let's give our speaker a hand again. And here's your mic. Oh, use it. Yes, so we're coming now to the third talk in our session, entitled Working with Mixed Reality in Public, Effects of Virtual Display Layouts on Productivity, Feeling of Safety and Social Acceptability. And the authors are Janne, Maurizio Wang, who will also be giving the presentation, Verena, Tanja Kojic, Jens Grubert, Sebastian Möller, and Jan-Niklas Voigt-Antons. So we're looking forward to your talk.
Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, so hi everybody, I'm Maurizio, PhD student at Quality and Usability Lab TU Berlin. But yeah, this work was a contribution of a lot of people. So we have people from TU Berlin, Hochschule am Lippstadt, Uni Stuttgart, and Coburg University of Applied Sciences. I see 2 of my co-authors in the audience. Thanks for being here. All right, let's dive in. So, mixed reality in public. When Apple announced their Apple Vision Pro, they advertised it for use in the public. So, for example, on an airplane. And actually, like on the internet, a lot of videos surfaced with people using the Vision Pro in transportations, for example, exploiting the Apple ecosystems and normal applications that you would use on your smartphone. or on your laptop. But I would say that immersive headsets research in public, it's not super new. Like, so myself, I started working on it like 4 years ago, more or less, and there was already quite some stuff on it. And we can see already some recent work has started to compare, for example, mixed reality and virtual reality when it comes like to daily use of it. So they found that in mixed reality, users judge the experience as more socially acceptable and that users feel safer. But on the other hand, having this capability of looking at your surroundings can cause distraction. So it comes a lot about like how the information is displayed. So previous research has looked into this, and they say that users should avoid placing like displays over bystanders or personal objects. This way they have a bit more of situational awareness, and they have this impression that they're not looking at other people and other people are not looking to them. Of course, like research has propose different approaches to solve this problem. I think that automatically adapting layouts is one of the most promising, so based on the context that we have. And in general, some research showed as well that people, when given the freedom of placing displays around, they prefer to align them with some walls or surfaces, so just to have some kind of references and not in other people's personal space. So yeah, coming to this research, we had 2 objectives. The first one was exploring layout preferences for specific use case of working in mixed reality at a public workspace, but also we wanted to compare the different layouts. We wanted to see what were the impressions about feelings of safety, social acceptability, and perceived productivity. So in terms of setup, we decided to use MetaQuest 3, so with color pass-through was good enough for this task, so mixed reality headset, and the environment we chose was a public workspace at the University Library, TU Berlin. Yeah, you see this space in this picture is pretty empty, but like I promise you, during the day it's more crowded, and actually this room is quite convenient because people are sitting across from each other, so you have a high chance of having somebody always sitting in front of you while using the application. So we developed 4 different layouts. So they are different in aspects of like height, so either if they are on eye level or below eye level, and distance from the user, so far or close. Of course, like the text and the windows were scaled based on the distance, but actually there were also other factors that needed to be adjusted a bit to make it usable. So, for example, angles and tilt of the screens. Right, so we came up based also on literature with 3 different hypotheses. The first one was that layouts with displays below eye level would make users feel safer than the layouts with displays at eye level. Second hypothesis was layouts with displays at eye level make users feel more productive than layouts with displays below eye level. And finally, layouts with displays below eye level are perceived as more socially acceptable by users than displays at eye level. All right, so we used the room planning task. We just needed a way like to make the user work, like be productive and combine information from 3 different screens. So this is a very simple task. On the left screen, we have a class schedule. On the central screen, we have some questions that the user need to answer if it's possible or not possible to solve. And on the right screen, we have a room plan with details about room capacity, technical equipment, and the ID of the room. Then this is how it looked like when you combine the different layouts with the task. So we have different prototypes. As you can see, like there's already an evident difference between like eye level and below eye level layouts. So on the eye level, you cannot see the person sitting across you, while on the below eye level one, there's a visibility of the person sitting across you. In total, we managed to recruit 19 participants, 11 females, 8 males. The mean age was around 28 years old. They were all students, and most of them had already experience with VR or MR. Another important component is that, on average, in the environment, there were 19 bystanders. Like, we reached a peak of 25 people with, I think, 12 or 13, like, as minimum. So the environment was pretty crowded during the time of the experiment. Our procedure goes like this. So we had booked a specific room in the library to brief the participants and let them try the application and get familiar with the headset. Then, like, we asked the participant to go to the open space of the library together with other people that were completely unaware of what was happening there. And yeah, they had to solve like these room planning tasks. There were 4 conditions, and after each condition, they could answer questionnaires about social acceptability, perceived productivity, and safety. At the end of everything, we asked them to give us some insights about their layout preferences with open-ended questions. Yeah, the questionnaires that we used after each task look more or less like this. So in terms of social acceptability, we measured different aspects from public use, user feeling, interaction, isolation, privacy, and safety. This questionnaire was used before for VR social acceptability assessment, but it's really easy to modify it to fix reality scenarios by just removing some items. Then we decided to measure feeling of safety with a single statement and perceived productivity with 2 statements in terms of ease of use and focus. Coming to the results and discussion, so first hypothesis we had was rejected, so we didn't find any statistical significant difference between the below eye level and the eye level layouts. In general, most people felt safe at the library, and maybe they didn't see a need for more situational awareness, like they were not really worried about it. Of course, like from qualitative feedback, we heard that in general, some of them didn't like being exposed to the gaze of like people sitting across them, and they said that this might make them feel a bit insecure or watched. So yeah, coming to the second hypothesis, it was about perceived productivity. We partially confirmed this hypothesis. Yeah, unfortunately, the first part, so about easiness, we didn't find any difference, but we were able to confirm the hypothesis regarding focus. So displays on eye level allows people to focus better than displays on below level. Yeah, this is most probably because like the view is you don't see the person sitting across you, so you feel more immersed in what you're doing. Finally, we had a hypothesis about social acceptability. We didn't find any significant difference for aspect of social acceptability. Yeah, this was a bit unexpected, but actually, given the environment that we chose, public library, maybe people didn't feel that weird using it in that space because they were using it for knowledge work, for productivity tasks in an environment where also other people were there to be productive. So actually, what we can conclude from this is that different social norms might apply depending on the environment, because previous research has shown instead that social acceptability can be influenced by actually the placement of displays. So yeah. In terms of layout preferences, we can see that people prefer the eye level and far layout. In general, we can see that layouts on eye level were more preferred than ones below eye level. They said that visibility of bystanders is distracting, and somehow eye level displays feel more socially comfortable, but also there's an aspect of ergonomics. So sometimes, like moving around too much your head, like could cause like fatigue and visual discomfort. Yeah, in terms of limitations in future work, I mean, I think everybody when running user studies would like to have like a more diverse pool of participants. We do as well. Also, we understand that our results are generalizable to only to compare public workspaces, so where similar social norms apply. And also, we would like to investigate more about why we found differences compared to previous findings. So we would like to replicate maybe also previous studies in specific settings. Yeah, we can get more insights by conducting interviews and investigate like further preferences about layouts. To conclude, so we can say that layouts with displays at high level are better for focused work and are recommended for a public workspace setting. And also that deviating findings from previous research underscores importance for considering specific context and public environments for use of this application. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for your attention. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Maurizio. Yes, so time for questions, please. We have one in the back here.
I know it's not necessarily what you were looking at, but between the different display types, did you notice any difference in the way that the general public were looking at the participants? Were there any sort of weird looks, or were there any sort of confused stares or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, of course, like if there is only one person using a headset in an entire library, they would look at you differently. During the procedure, the moderator, so either me or the master student that ran the experiment, we were always watching people, like our user, and noting down what was happening in terms of bystanders. So yeah, the first impression when the participant was sitting across, also they had people next to them, right? Yeah, people were staring at them, but I'd say after like 1 minute, that was not that relevant anymore. They understood what was happening there, that they were working. Also in this case, like they were using controllers. I think if they were using maybe a keyboard or a mouse, it would be even more evident what they're doing, you know? So yeah, we noticed that.
Hello, Michele Fiorentino from Politecnico di Bari. Question is related to about two aspects that may influence a lot the outcomes of this experiment. Maybe you can give us more details. First is the age of the bystander. So because this could, if it's a kind of university library, the average age of people will be very low, and then I think this can a little bit bias the results. Second aspect is the interface. Seems that the user just have to click yes or no or something like that from what I see. I think the interaction like text input or more, actions which involve much more gestures would have changed somehow the outcomes with more significant results. Can you give some comments about this? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. I agree with you, concerning the people that would be in the library. Of course, the average age and also the expertise of people, like the previous experience. So youngsters are now used to see like these kind of technologies. So of course, age would be impactful on this, and background. Also, the fact that it's a technical university library makes it even like more strong, this effect. If it was like maybe in, I don't know, some humanities faculty, it would be even different. So yeah, of course, this could have affected it. That's why we would like to increase the diversity of the pool. Yeah. I mean, that's my comment on that. Regarding the interaction part of the displays, of course, like if there's a lot of previous research about gestures, like visibility of gestures and how they impact the users. Most of those results report on safety issues, like I'm scared of if I have a high range movement to bump into people. So yeah, that's definitely depends on the task that you're performing. We might argue that already if you're rearranging displays, there's a risk of like hitting person next to you. So, but I guess that's a problem also of the, who designs the application, so the experience. So designers should take into account the fact that people might use this application in this context with other people around, and they should warn them about it. In this case, yes, the application was not that interactive, but that was the point of it. We just wanted to explore like the effect of the virtual displays layout. We didn't want to include other factors, but yeah, we can learn from previous research to give answers to that.
Are you aware of any studies done to see if if the eyes are visible, like in the Apple Vision Pro? Then is it more socially acceptable or less?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, there was a poster presentation from myself and other co-authors about the eyesight feature of Apple Vision Pro at VRST. We compared it in a conversational task. We wanted to see if this eyesight feature was really like beneficial for social presence, communication, and so on. The results were promising, but it was a pilot study, so our participants' number was like 8, so very low. We didn't run any strong statistics. It was just descriptives. So yeah, we started working on that. We just need more time to do a better experiment.
Okay, great. So I have several questions myself, but we don't have time now. So we can give our speaker another hand.
Thanks.
And move on to the fourth presentation. And this paper is entitled Simple and Efficient Evaluation of Transitions for Task-Driven Cross-Reality Experiences. And the authors are Nico Feld, Pauline Bimberg, Benjamin Weyers, and Daniel Zilasco from University of Trier.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So again, my name is Nico Feld from University of Trier, and I'm presenting our work, Simple and Efficient Evaluation of Transitions for Task-Driven Cross-Reality Experiences. So virtual reality allows us to have multiple different environments, and it's just natural that a user actually wants to switch between them. And that's where transitions come in. We have here the work from Malte Husung and Eike Langbeen, who already evaluated different transitions in virtual environments. And they've done that in isolation, so the people were just looking around and then using the transitions and then evaluating on these. But what happens if the user is actually engaged in a challenging task? So the transition becomes more a tool, and does that actually impact the effects of transitions? And that was our first research question for this work we wanted to investigate. And then second, when we have cross-reality, so switching across the virtual continuum, then we also can switch between virtual and physical environments. So our next research question was if this effect of a cognitive task is distinct between when switching between two virtual environments and a physical and a virtual environment. So we compared then 6 transitions out of the related work and embedded them in a memory game task across 2 environments. So in the first study, we looked at the first research question, how is it when we are switching between two virtual environments, and the users were solving a spatial memory task where they revealed multiple objects under these brown boxes and were switching across these environments, and we used a HTC Vive Pro for that. And in the second study, we switched the virtual office to a real office with the virtual boxes augmented in it, and then we ran the same experience, and then we used Vario XR3. So we are aware that these are two different devices and they may have impact on the results. For more details on that, please refer to the paper. So what were actually these 6 transitions? We implemented them from the work from Husung and Langbehn. And first we have like the simple cut, which is just a direct teleport to the other environment with no visuals. Then we have the dissolve, which is like an alpha blending. We have fade, a short fade to black transition. Then we have a rift, which is like a rift tearing or bursting bubble effect, revealing the other environment. Then we have orb, which is an orb above the controller, which allows first peaking and then transitioning. And last but not least, the portal, which spawns in the middle of the environment and the user can simply walk through it. Oh, thanks. So, but how was the task looking? So we had these 2 environments, the office one and the farm one, and we hid office-related objects under the brown boxes in the office environment, and farm-related objects like a pumpkin in the farm environment. But that's not all. We also had like pirate-related objects, and they were hidden across both environments. So once the user is revealing one of these pirate-related objects in one of the environments, they had to switch to the other one and looking for the pair in that environment. The transition was usable anytime the user wanted, by just a simple press of the button, but in case of revealing one pirate object, they had to switch. So with this task design, we tried to aim towards an external validity. So we had like a constant rate, constant frequency of transitions, and we tried to avoid that the people were solving one environment, switching once, and then solving the other environment, and then we have not really any data on the transition itself. And the users were asked to use at least turns as possible. So we told them it's not about time, it's about making errors. So we tried to avoid just guesswork in with that. What did we measure? We measured usability, flow, presence, task load, preference, cyber sickness, and error rate and task time for task performance. So most of these environments were measures already done in prior work, so we can compare them to the work from Husung and Langbehn. So I will focus on the main findings. Please refer again to the paper for a detailed analysis of all these. And while there were no differences in these task performance measured, we found interesting results in, for example, usability. So this is the research question 1. So switching between two virtual environments. And we can see here that cut, so the instant transition without visuals, received a high system usability score, indicating a high usability, and orb and portal just received a mid one with actually significant differences between to cut. Now, when we look at the results from Husung and Langbehn, we see 2 interesting differences. First, we can see that cut was weighted the highest for us, but it was just in the middle for them. And then the two interactive transitions like orb and portal were also in the middle for Husing and Langbehn, but for us they received lower scores in usability. And this is even more present in when we are looking at preference. Again, these were our scores, with cut again receiving a really high preference, and orb and portal a mid to lower one. And when we compare it to the previous work, we see that for us, cut really received a higher preference score, and orb and portal received a lower score, where it was really highly weighted in the Husung and Langbehn work, which again, to remind you, was investigating transitions in isolation. So we are looking at the effect of a cognitive task. So let's look at research question 2. So to investigate if these effects we just found, that cut was weighted high in usability and preference, changes when we are switching now between a real and a virtual environment. And at the first glance, it doesn't seem to have any effects, and that is mostly true. I just want to point out two interesting insights we found here. First, it seems that orb received a higher usability when switching between augmented reality and virtual reality. So these were not significant, but we also looked at the comments left by the participants, and they also indicated a slightly higher acceptance for the orb. And then when we look at the presence and fate, we even see a significant difference between switching between two virtual environments and a real and a virtual one. But again, I already said that these results have to be taken with care, because we use different equipments, so we are aware of that. So in the end, what were our results? So to summarize, the participants really preferred fast and efficient transitions over transitions with high interactivity. So cut was received the best rating, and orb and portal received lower ratings. And then we also had a look at the differences between these two studies. And based on the participants' comments, we thought that these stem from the visual incoherence between the two environments. So we have on one side that really colorful, low poly virtual farm, and on the other hand that realistic looking real office with not so colorful colors. And so this is an assumption by us that needs further research, that like transitions like orb or fate can help mitigate the negative effects of such an visual incoherence. So in conclusion, we would say that if the efficiency of a transition should really be considered when choosing a transition for a cognitive or a challenging task, both when switching between virtual environments and in cross reality. That doesn't mean that you should just disregard interactive transitions from the beginning. For example, if you have these orb transitions, it allows peaking in the other environment before actually switching. So if your task is viable with just peaking, then it would be a good idea. Or for portal, if you already have a task that requires a lot of wheel walking, then putting a portal in there and letting the user walk through it, that's not that much big of a hassle. So More detail on that in the workshop tomorrow, the joint workshop on course reality. I will also attend there and have 2 presentations, and we dive a little bit deeper into course reality, and I'm looking forward for a lot of discussions on there as well. And then that's concluding my talk, and thank you for your time.
Hello, thank you for the talk. I'm quite interested in this work, as you probably know. I was wondering if you had any observations or measures of how participants reoriented to an environment after they transitioned back to it, and relatedly, if their experience was one of almost being in 2 environments at the same time, since the switching was so quick, similar to the OVR lab paper. So yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so there were a few comments. So one thing we wanted to investigate, specifically for the orb transitions, is if people actually use that peaking in our task and to switch, so they orientate to in the other environment before switching, but that was not the case. So most of the people were pretty much using it as a cut transition, so they spawned it and just directly switched. We don't have measures on that, and we don't have measures about how, if they feel like these 2 worlds are distinct or interconnected. But it was, that's also a point. If we would have that, we would be still really careful, because we got a lot of comments using the Vario XR3 that the real environment still felt virtual. So a few participants said that, okay, I'm in that real environment, I can see the path-through, but I'm still have the habit like feeling around when the table is appearing, even in the path-through mode. Yeah, but it would be an interesting thing about orientation and interconnecting, or if the 2 environments felt interconnected. I have a few slides on that tomorrow, if you want to join. You're
Cool.
busy. You're busy.
Yes, but we'll talk. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bernard Ricker from Simon Fraser University up north in Vancouver. Very interesting research. In a way, it seems like the results make sense. It seems like there was not really any benefit in being able to peek into the other environment. So I was wondering what your thoughts are in terms of, okay, if there is a benefit, for example, there's different things you want to explore, you want to see, or just, I feel like there's no need for any of the more fancy or gradual or orb or portal transitions. Just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think especially the peaking one is still interesting, and I think it's just anecdotal. So we had that, maybe a few of you saw that, we have that as a demo at the IEEE VR this year, and this was not the only demo we held, and we had to set up a lot of virtual and real environments to do that. And what really came in handy was the orb transition, because we set up the real environment with all the furniture we had, and then we switched to the virtual environment and adjusted the virtual environment, and we used the peaking of the orb to see if there's any physical objects colliding while we were setting up the environments. So this is just one example. But another thing, like peaking would be interesting if I think about like a CAD programmer who's designing some objects on his desk, and maybe it's a bigger car, and he's using his PC, so he's in augmented reality, and then they just want to simply peek into the other environment to see the changes they are making on the PC. So that may be another use case.
Okay. Yes, final question.
Yeah, thank you for the great talk. Maybe just a short question. Do you have any assumption how transitions would behave if the spaces would not be aligned? Because I saw now that it was roughly the same office space and roughly the same virtual space. So any assumptions on what problems might arise when like the office space is smaller?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. Yeah, there was many implications by switching between a real and a virtual environment, and that's pretty much the main one. So it is hard, and it has to be set up for your environment. For example, the portal one, you can't use. Or it's really hard to use virtual locomotion and then in the virtual environment, because once you spawn your portal somewhere, it doesn't mean that you can actually walk through it, because there could be a real desk on the other side. So in our demo, for example, the portal always spawns in the center of the environment. There's no user placement. And once that is in there, it gets difficult in cross-reality transitioning. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. So thank you for the great talk, and let's thank all the authors again.
Thank you.
And this concludes our session. Feel free to reach out to the authors and speakers in the coffee breaks. Thank you.